Evening all, welcome back to even more gunning. I know, alright, this will probably be the last one we do, so chill bro, chill, alright? Look at me killing these dudes. This is fun, look at this, they think they're hacking. No you're not. Oh, just love gunning, I really do. I think it's probably one of the more enjoyable things you can do in this game. It's next to grenades. Grenades are pretty fun as well. It's like fishing with high explosives. It's, you never know what you're going to get, and I think that's kind of cool. Anyway, let's continue our little diatribe from last video. So if you didn't watch the last video, go watch it now, and we'll wait for you. Come on. And it's really just talking about, I think, the fact that Eve has, I think, a few issues, as I guess people would say, that the game is generally suffering from, I think, a reduction in people playing it. It's got a new executive producer, I think, which is interesting, and I think just generally there's quite a few challenges with competition, because competition of other games is really pulling people away. And I still get the odd kind of frantic angry message telling me to stop saying that Elite and Eve is a better version of Elite. Sorry, got the wrong way around, brain not working, coffee not engaged yet. That Elite is a better version of Eve. And the reason that they're kind of saying this to me is because there's more you could do more in Elite, in Eve. Do you see how hard it is? And I think I kind of acknowledge that, and I hear what you say, but I also think you're wrong, bro. Let me justify that rather trolly statement, because Elite is a great example of a game that is still growing. They're already talking about walking on planets, landing and walking on planets, and they're talking about walking around in the stations and all this. And this is stuff that Eve has promised for years, but Elite looks like it can actually deliver it, because they're developing quite aggressively. They're developing very well. And I would stress that they also have the opinion that the development team sits away from the community. They're protected from it. So the community can sit and bitch and moan as much as they like about X, Y, and Z. The reality is that the development are not then trying to appease everybody, which is what I think Eve's and CCP and Dust's problem was from the get-go. Was they were always trying to please, a player base who, quite frankly, need to go out and get laid and not worry about the fifth slot of a Logi or this or that. I mean, I know some people really want to prove that they are the biggest Dust knowledge dude in the world. So I get this every so often when I'm in gang and somebody just starts talking to me about, oh, well, yeah, but the 17% reduction on the Logi's resistance to armor is crazy. It needs to be 18%. And I just sit there and think, dude, have a beer, have a smoke, shut the fuck up. Because I don't care about all that. It's not interesting to me. To me, the game is the game, and I want to play it. And I couldn't give a monkey's left testicle about what the particulars of the game is. Now, however, if you go and join, here you go. This is a test of your patience. Go and join the channel's Dev Hangout. So I think it's just one word, Dev Hangout. Somebody post in the comments if I've got that wrong, but it's Dev Hangout. And in there you will see all manner of nerdy life, scrabbling around under the rocks, waiting in stasis. Like, have you ever seen the film The Audition? It's a weird Japanese horror movie where, anyway, long story. If you haven't seen it, then I'm going to describe something that you won't understand. But if you have, you'll get it. That bit with the phone and the bag, and she sat there completely silent, and all of a sudden the phone rings. Yeah, that's what happens when a dev logs in and goes into that channel. And it literally becomes some kind of nerd rush of, oh my god, a dev, and then they just starts. And literally the first thing I'll say to them is, oh well, can I ask you a question about tanks? Why do tanks have a ninth slot that says blah, 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 blah? And it's just, I just remember sitting there thinking, oh my, I couldn't. A Saberwing and I had a chat about this, and I think he was such a professional. Saberwing never forgets, seriously. And I said to him, how does it not drive you mad? And he was like, oh yeah, but it's interesting listening to everyone's opinion and all this. And I was like, well, that's an incredibly practiced response. But I believed he did. I actually do believe he tried to make sure that everybody's voice was heard. So good on him. And if you didn't know, by the way, Saberwing has just got a new job with a new games development company. And go follow him on Twitter and show him some love, because he did this game a lot of good. But anyway, so there we go. So I couldn't quite believe, and I still can't believe, how quite into the numbers some people are, which is fine. There's being into the numbers and then acknowledging that that's fine, but then there's being into the numbers way too much to the point where you're just a massive nerd. And for some reason, the numbers are offending you personally. You know, the mathematical equation is coming out and spelling "you are a dick" continually, and you're just getting angry at CCP over that. What the hell was I talking about? I've completely forgotten what I was talking about. Anyway, it's going to be one of those videos, I'm afraid. I'm still pretty much drunk, so there we go. I think the challenge that I think Dust has, and Legion has certainly, is what the hell are they going to do if Eve starts to really fail? You know, I mean, is there ever going to be a product of Legion if there's no Eve? And the answer is no, absolutely not. Because Legion and Dust have always been gateway products designed to get more people into the CCP universe and then through into Eve. But that failed. I don't think a vast number of people actually even came into the Eve universe through Dust. I think it was limited, if I'm honest. Which is a shame, because that could have been such a good source of subs. But again, the problem is that Eve needed to tidy its house up before it started then inviting new guests in. And my biggest issue is that Eve and CCP have been incredibly negligent on making the product work across everybody. Do you know what I mean? It's like so often now, I'm afraid to say, they have not tackled the deep space alliances. They've just left it as a sandbox. And unfortunately, when you do that, you have to have regulation of some kind. Otherwise, people are just a law unto themselves. And I think CCP tried to make a social experiment that ended up with cleverer people than them dominating and engineering very, very powerful control of the game, to the point where real money trading was happening quite extensively. And that has meant that, you know, people are making a living from this game by owning space in Eve. And that's terrible when you think about it. Because when real life, I mean, when I played the game, years 1, 2, and 3, nobody even had heard of real money trading back then. People didn't even know what it was. So, you know, the irony is that people didn't, nobody was doing it really. I mean, some people were, but it was so underground and hidden. There was no botting, there was no macro mining or whatever they call it. And there was this kind of position where everybody played the game for fun. So people risked whole regions and their existence in deep space because it didn't matter if they lost it, because, you know, that, oh well, it was a game. Whereas now it's become an industry where people, there's an agreement over the deep space moons, there's an agreement over the regions, there's really kind of a very strong milking of the game for financial gain going on, and it's been going on for years and years and years. So, you know, the irony is that these people are now kind of killing the game. They're the parasite that's latched onto the game, and they're now actually milking it to the point where people are not playing because nobody wants to try and get into deep space and take over their territory, because they will just pay extreme amounts of money to stop that. You know, they will just basically turtle up and fight back. And to the point where the game becomes static. I mean, again, any game, because it is just a game, and I think obviously people forget that, but any game that becomes static for too long, you stop seeing people play. There's a bit of an old kind of saying that, you know, humanity is only 3 meals away from revolution in any society, even the most strongest society in the world. If you deprive them of meal for 3 days, then you have absolute anarchy on your hands. Well, there's a nice kind of subtle change to that, which is if you take away variety, if you take away interest, if you make the game a regulated, you know, regular kind of game, then people will stop playing it as well. And I think that's happened in Eve, and it only took about 3 years. So, you know, the 3-year mark, maybe a bit longer, 4 or 5 years. And in that time, you've seen pretty much all of deep space die. Nothing's happened. Nothing changes. If you fly through deep space, you see botting after botting after botting. Almost every system is rented out to a bot, and then the bot just flies around all the, I don't know, anomalies or belts, whatever, and it just does that. I don't care about that. I'm not interested in that. I saw it happen. I know it was going on. I'm aware of it. But, you know, to me, it just became something that I think, in reality, kind of killed the game. And I honestly don't think Eve is going to survive in its current format. It will become even more of a niche product. When you think about how many people play Eve, it's what, 30,000 a day now, maybe at a peak time. You know, I'm not talking in total, I'm talking at most, at best, it's about 30,000. And now, given the nature of the way you play that game, that means there's probably about 50,000 playing generally. Because it's a game you'll play for longer than, say, 8 hours generally. And I think that means that pretty much Eve's base that's left usually is multi-counted. So that means there's maybe only 15,000 people playing. Now, I generalize, these are just general numbers, but it's because I don't care about numbers. But I think the reality is that there is a reduction in people playing this game quite significantly. And I think eventually even the hardcore people are going to think to themselves, can I make money from Elite? Can I make money from Star Citizen? And the answer is categorically yes, they can. And they will. But as soon as they enter into these games, some ability to trade money between parties, you're going to then see real money trading going there. And because there will be, just a huge amount more people playing those games because they're the new games, it means that all of the hardcore, people in Eve currently will probably then migrate to that, and then Eve all of a sudden will have a massive drop in subs, and then pretty much it's not even financially viable anymore. These things generally don't decline. I think something will happen to the point where something will change, and then a vast majority of accounts will stop playing, and then all of a sudden it will be a significant drop, and then we're in. That's it. That's that particular product dead. We saw this a bit with Dust, I know, because like around maybe 9,000 people logged in day one, then that quickly dropped to about 4, and that was it. That was the realization. This game isn't what I want to do to them. So there we go. Interesting stuff. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.